Good evening, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. That's right, the most fact-driven, unbiased true crime channel on the internet, okay? Some people say, oh, Scott, you're so whatever. You're this way. I get accused of being biased by anybody that doesn't agree with my analysis of a particular case. But you know what? When everybody gets upset with you, you must be calling it correctly. And that's what we try to do on this show. We try to focus on the facts and the law, not people's gut feelings, not people's emotional, not their political beliefs. Let's focus on the law and the facts, because that's really what matters. Now, what's going on with law and facts these days? Oh my gosh. We have more cases going on right now. I mean, it's the end of the year. Sometimes this is a slow time of year for the courts. Sometimes it's all, cases got to get going. Obviously, we got the G.Maxwell trial, the Max Duggar trial, Duggar rhymes with hugger. We also have the Jussie Smollett trial going on. It is a busy time. We just got done with the Rittenhouse case. We got done with the Arbery case, where everyone was found guilty in that particular case. A lot of good trials. And guess what? People respected the verdicts. They didn't go out, burn the place down anywhere. That's a good thing, okay? Because really the only people's decision that matters are the jurors in that particular case, because they sat and heard all of the legal and competent evidence, not what they heard on the TV, not what was spun by a commentator somewhere. They heard what was permitted to be allowed and legally and permissibly to be permitted into evidence, and then they can only consider that along with the instructions. So obviously that's a good thing when people respect the judicial system. We have to have that in a civilized society, and if people don't like it, there's a remedy for it. It's called, you go through the appellate process, one side or the other. Obviously, there's no appeal for the prosecution if they lose on something like that, but that's the way it is. So, all right, as we let a few more people join in, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Scott Reich. I'm a practicing criminal defense attorney here in the great state of Colorado. Been doing it now for 26 years, doing criminal defense. I can't believe it's gone by so fast. Literally, it goes by so fast. I can't believe literally another year. Even in COVID, it went by fast. Almost 2 years of COVID now. Can you believe that? We're finally getting back to doing some trials again. As you can see, trials have resumed, which is great. But who knows what's coming here in the next weeks or months ahead. You just never know what's going to happen next, right? But hopefully everyone is prepared. So like I said, I've been practicing for 26 years. People may not like my analysis on cases, but guess what? One's political views really don't matter when it comes to the law. Only matters is the facts and the law. Bottom line, that's it. Make your decision with neither passion nor prejudice. Let the chips fall where they may. I think a great quote by former Supreme Court Justice Scalia said that if you as a judge are always coming to the correct or what you believe is the right decision, the decision that you like, you're satisfied with, you're probably not a very good judge. Okay? And what does that really mean? It means that if you are a judge and you always come to the result that makes you feel good at the end of the day, guess what? You're not following the law, more than likely. And I remember I heard Justice Scalia speak, and it was the Texas flag burning case. I don't recall the name off the top of my head right now, but they were talking, and he says, my personal belief was he found the desecration of the flag despicable, but it was a 5-4, a plurality decision, 5-4 on the Supreme Court that said that burning a flag and the statute that was passed in Texas was unconstitutional. And he said, I hated that decision. But if you went back and looked at the intent of the First Amendment, the writing at the time that the Constitution was written, he was an originalist, he said that would have been the ultimate freedom of speech, is to burn the flag. He found it absolutely reprehensible, but He said doesn't matter how he feels about it. It's what the law says, right? He was an originalist. You're right. You read the document for the plain meaning of the words. If you need interpretation, you look at the words, what they meant at that particular time, not what you think they meant today. And so I always thought that was interesting because I was in court not long ago, and the judge really wanted to keep this client under supervision. And we're like, no, you can't do that, Judge. The statute is this and what have you. And I kind of brought that quote up to the judge. She didn't like it. Her job was, to help people. It was one of these recovery courts, so to speak. But at a certain point, people just went off of probation, off of supervision, and the law was on our side. And then that next judge came in, and guess what? Case closed. So had to remind the judge of that quote that sometimes you don't always get what you want as a judge. You certainly don't get it in the court of public opinion as well. So, all right, let's get to it tonight. Lot to talk about. We talked today in our daily video about latest developments with the Lori Vallow matter. Now, as you may recall, I just printed it out. Julie, would you mind running to the printer, please? I apologize. A couple of weeks ago, Mark Means, and for those of you who maybe haven't joined us before, Mark Means is the attorney for Lori Vallow. Now, Lori Vallow was obviously charged with the death of her two children, JJ and Tylee. It's turned out to be a big fiasco. And the reason why, and, I'm not saying, you can't be it. I mean, but, as a lawyer, yes, you can go practice a particular area of law. I mean, I could run off tomorrow and say, I'm going to go do securities law. I would probably not be a very good securities lawyer because I don't know what to begin. I have a general understanding of, what's a security, how we do it, but I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have all the intricate details that you learn over the practice of multiple decades, right? So Mark Means has basically been a divorce attorney, does some mediation, but for back a letter term, he is a divorce attorney, okay? He picks up this case. I think he thought it was going to be his 15 minutes of fame. Maybe, I'm sure as any attorney wants to truly help his client. But at some point, and I've had really good clients. Man, I don't want to send this client somewhere, but guess what? It's beyond my area of expertise. That's what you have to do to look out for the best interests of the client. And sometimes it means you can't always do it yourself, particularly if you've never done it, let alone a death penalty case. So anyway, Mark Means has been there, and people have somewhat given me some flack because they're like, oh, you sure don't like this Mark Means guy. Why are you so mean to Mark Means? I'm like, I think I've agreed with him on a couple of occasions. So let's just say, you can't say Scott always criticizes him. But I just don't understand what he's doing. He's trying to try a criminal case like you would a civil case, and you just can't do it. They are a different beast. It is a different animal. And it's very evidenced by this document here that I printed out that he filed. Looks like it was October 27th. Wow, so it spent almost a month. And the government filed their response November 24th. So just about, 28 days, I guess. I think that is. Anyway, he filed this motion called, it's a declared motion. Motion for the state to disclose Brady violation, motion for criminal depositions, motion for out-of-state subpoenas, a motion to disqualify the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare. Now, in a nutshell, this is the allegation that somehow Lori Vallow called the general counsel for the Church of the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. And apparently, Mark Means makes some very serious allegations that basically this was at the request of her therapist, that she should go talk with somebody. In fact, gave her the number. Pretty bold allegations that you're making there, right? And I've mentioned this a couple of times as an attorney. You can't just say anything, okay? As an attorney, people are like, oh, attorneys lie, blah, blah. Okay, if you lie, it's going to get you in trouble, okay? Just like anywhere else in the world. attorneys may sometimes make arguments that you think, oh, okay, maybe credible, but you're pushing basically something that's not true, a lie, okay? And you can't do that. And before you go do things, you have to verify it. Because I know, hold on a second, wait till you hear this for a second. I know you're going to find this hard to believe. Who could possibly imagine it? That's right. Hold on. Sometimes clients lie to their attorney. I know you think, why would anyone lie to your attorney? Well, because clients are human. Clients are embarrassed. Clients don't want to look bad in front of you. Sometimes they're just liars. They're sociopaths, okay? They just lie, and they ignore reality. And one thing that you learn over the practice of law, I think it was in the words of Ronald Reagan, trust, but verify, okay? If a client says that they were at a particular location at a particular time, you don't rush out and say, my client was at a particular place at a particular time. You try to verify it. Who was there with you? Can we get your phone records to show? Was there a selfie taken? What was there so that we can clarify, so we just don't have to trust you? Because guess what? Probably neither the police nor the prosecutor is going to believe just you, because they have a witness saying you were somewhere else and probably allegedly doing things you shouldn't have been doing. Okay? I know. Oh, that's right. Clients sometimes don't tell their attorneys everything. And so I think a responsible attorney, instead of saying that therapists were allowing or encouraging that Lori Vallow, who is deemed to be incompetent because more than likely she is delusional because she thinks that she is this grand, was it princess, I think she thought she was, that she had this power, goddess, princess something, and that she had all the power and she can see these dark spirits, okay? It's one thing to say those things, ladies and gentlemen. It's another to believe them, okay? And when clients believe that stuff to the point where you have an ethical duty to say, I think they're not competent to proceed, they can't assist in their defense, then guess what? You take what the client says with a grain of salt. Okay, what does that mean? It means trust, but verify. Okay? And I thought it was very odd early on. Mark Means, as you may recall, when the whole issue regarding competency came up, he wanted to be personally involved with her restoration process. What? No. Okay? I've had many clients set off to the state hospital over the years, and I don't get involved. That's not my bailiwick, right? I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a psychologist. That's their area of expertise, okay? I can read their reports. I can consult with an expert as to what they say and whether it's completely accurate or, old trust but verify thing. But I'm not going to get involved in a client's restoration process. I've never heard of an attorney actually be involved in that and wanting to be literally sit down with the team, so to speak, and do that. Crazy to me that he would do that. So he filed this motion saying, hey, the government's in possession of all this Brady material. She's apparently made statements. What else is there? The whole hospital is out to get him. Basically demeans, belies, besmirches the professionals at the state hospital and wants them disqualified. Now, when this motion came out, we went through it. We did a video on it. And, obviously the state has a duty to disclose Brady material. Got that? Motions for criminal depositions. I said, I'll have to go take a look. And I went and looked, and I was right. And the government cites it in their motion. You can seek a deposition in a criminal case, but that's normally if somebody is going to be unavailable at trial, and usually, not just because it's their inconvenience and they don't want to show up. It is because they're going to die, or maybe they are in the military service and they are being deployed around the world somewhere. Then you could take a preservation deposition. Normally, when I've seen it done, it's literally when somebody's going to die. They're just super old. I think I had a witness once who was dying of cancer, so we took a preservation deposition in court. Doesn't happen that often in criminal case, right? If the victim goes away, oops, sorry, case just got a little better for the defense, so to speak. Don't get offended by that, ladies and gentlemen, but it's a reality, okay? It's a reality. So they don't do it. So I was like, why does he think he does? And then he wants to subpoena, then Mark Means wanted to subpoena out-of-state witnesses to produce documents from the LDS Church in Utah. Yeah, I mean, this is just basic jurisdictional 101 type of stuff where the state courts only have jurisdiction in the state in which they exist. Would you mind? Like I say, sorry, very important matters going on here, okay? Called Grubhub. Called dinner being delivered. We were a little behind the power curve because I got distracted on work. And anyway, so courts only have jurisdiction in the state, right? Attorneys can issue subpoenas as an officer of the court to produce records and documents on a particular date and time. Only in the state of only in the state in which the attorney is licensed, where that jurisdiction is. I can't send a subpoena off to, somebody in, say, North Carolina and say, give me all your stuff. They're going to say, you have no jurisdiction over me in Colorado. Get over it. So you'd think an attorney would probably know that, but apparently doesn't and asks for it. And then he asked that the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare basically be excluded from restoring to competency Lori Vallow. And of course, my first comment is, well, then who is going to do it? Mr. Means? Well, so this was the motion that he filed. Can we put that bad boy up there real quick, Frank? That's what he filed, okay? And it goes on and on and on. Just saying how, and the prosecutors are evil, they're bad, they have done all sorts of terrible things. Mr. Wood is having communications and not relaying stuff to anybody about that. And well, then the prosecution today, or the 27th, I guess, 24th, but they filed the 24th, but we didn't get public access to it until today. Anyway, they basically say this is ridiculous, and they're not shy about what they it's out of order. Sorry. They're not shy about their criticisms of Mark Means in any way. They basically say, well, let's just say, I think they've had enough of Mark Means, okay? They came out swinging. And let's go back here because sometimes the end is the best. It says the declared motion should be denied without a hearing. The law doesn't provide the court the authority or jurisdiction to award any remedy requested in the declared motion. Even if the law did allow such remedies, the declared motions provides no evidence or even allegations which support said remedies. Mr. Means has relied on Mr. Means has relied on spurious facts, hearsay, and possible violations of his own client's right to make the allegations. The state requests that counsel Means be sanctioned by the court, ordering all motions filed on behalf of the defendant, Lori Vallow, be signed by both counsel for the defendant until such time as defendant is deemed competent and by any other remedies and sanctions the court deems appropriate. Now, remember Lori Vallow has two attorneys. Mark Means is her attorney, but when this case went death, Mark Means is not qualified as a death-qualified attorney. He hasn't done the requisite number of felony trials because from what we can tell, he's done 0 felony trials in his limited criminal defense practice. So the court, on its own motion, okay, when the court says, whoa, dude, you're not qualified, you may kind of want to say, maybe I just need to step back, or I'm going to sit back, shut up, and learn and be the best researcher and the best briefcase carrier that there possibly could be in any courthouse, right? But no, he goes off and files these motions. And I said at the time that he filed this, I said, it's very interesting to me that Mr. Archibald, the death penalty qualified attorney that the court appointed to Lori Vallow, has not joined in any of these motions or requests. Okay? Apparently, the prosecutor noted that as well. And on page 3 of the document, I think is rather interesting. The DAs go off and they basically call him out. It says the potential for harm to Vallow Daybell from publicizing such statements is high and could also be extremely harmful to Mr. Means' former client, Chad Daybell, who is a co-defendant and alleged co-conspirator in this matter. It is noteworthy that Vallow Daybell's court-appointed death sentence qualified public defender has not joined in this motion. Huge, ladies and gentlemen. First, the prosecution is now raising the issue about whether Mark Means should be disqualified from this case because of his statements that he made in court. And you remember, you have to go way back. I think that this is one of the bond reduction motion hearings early on, and Chad Daybell was still sitting in the back of the courtroom as the supportive, spouse of Lori Vallow. And Mark Means says something to the effect of, well, of course I can speak for Mr. Mark Means. I represent him as well. And I remember I gave pause and we played it. I remember we put it up there. That's what he said. But then he kind of said, no, I didn't represent him. You said in court, as an officer of the court, you represent two people. You should have a hearing on that. Okay. I think it's a disqualification. One of the rules is, in civil, it's a little different. You can have multiple defendants, going after the same plaintiff because you have basically a common interest at heart. But if you, have competing interests, which you always do in a criminal case because people are going to point their fingers at each other and say, okay, well, hey, things were all fun for a while here, but now you guys are getting serious. You're talking death? Whoa, I don't want to die. So they still point the finger at the next person, the co-defendant. And if that other attorney has client confidences from their conversations with the other person that he represented in open court that was his client, you got a problem there, okay? I said it then. This is over a year ago, I think. I said he should be removed from the case. You can't do this in a criminal case. There could be a waiver, blah, blah, blah. Why go there? Because you know what the first thing is going to be on appeal or ineffective assistance of counsel claim? Guess what? My attorney had a conflict, and the court didn't properly inquire of this conflict, and who knows? It may not be a waivable conflict, which means you can't waive it. It's just Mr. Means needs to go away, which would be my recommendation, but that's just me from a curious courtroom observer here who, has maybe dealt with these kind of situations over the years. And of course, in the motion, he wants to subpoena everybody. And then the court, or in the motion by the district attorney, they basically say, you can't do that. It's pretty obvious. You should just read the rule. And then he goes on and says, the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare should be disqualified. It's like, are you kidding me? How do you, who do you expect to restore her back to competency, referring to Lori Vallow? Kind of makes sense there, right? And basically, this last page, man, I'm telling you, this is the bombshell. Boom! The declared motion contains several false statements. Ouch! You don't like it when you're being accused of making false statements. There's no evidence to support the declared motion's assertion that Mr. Wood has ever met, let alone spoken with Daniel McConkey. Another attorney at Curtin McConkey informed Mr. Wood that the defendant had contacted Daniel McConkey. The conversation regarding this issue lasted approximately 1 minute, and Mr. Wood informed said attorney he would notify the defendant's public defender. Mr. Wood immediately contacted the defense court-appointed counsel and informed him of the information provided. Mr. Wood also informed the court and defense counsel at a hearing shortly thereafter. The state is unaware of any authority creating a duty for attorney at Kirsten McConkey to provide this information to anyone. Further, the state is unaware of any legal or ethical duty the state has to provide that information to the defense. However, it was provided to both the court, defense counsel, and as a professional courtesy. Because once again, it's not within their care and control, right? Prosecutors have to turn over stuff that's in their care and control. Usually it's kind of the police departments or agencies that they communicate with directly, that file cases directly. They don't have to go get everything from every police agency. That would be ridiculous. It would just be not common sense. But basically, they come out swinging again. Mr. Means' extreme and ethical accusations may have created a situation where Mr. McConkey is not willing to speak with Mr. Means due to the defamatory statements. Mr. McConkey has been willing to speak with defense counsel, but given the unsubstantiated accusations, may not now be able to do so. I'm telling you, I just think Mr. Means, he is a hindrance to the case. He is creating nothing but an appellate record for ineffective assistance of counsel. And the new Mr. What's his name?
Archibald.
Mr. Archibald. He should probably tell Mr. Means to sit down, shut up, and by the way, carry my briefcase, please. Okay? All right. So that was kind of the big thing of the day. All right. So let's go to some of the comments here. That's what we do on our Tuesday Night Live. We try to get to the comments. Now, once things really get rolling, the comments start flowing in pretty darn quick. And then sometimes people send in super chats. And what's the significance of super chats? Well, your chances of having your question read increase exponentially. Not because I'm, looking for super chats. They just simply help because they get highlighted here in the screen and I can see it. So Karen, Texas, get drinks with the Grubhub too. Love you guys. Well, thank you very, very much. So let's go down here. And now, I also want to give another big shout out from kind of the show from last week. Okay. I think we started it on this program and then it continued over to our Patreon show. Okay. And we were talking about airplanes. Okay. And it just kind of carried over. Anyway, one of our Patreon members had made a comment, I think, in the comment section. And then she showed up and was like, oh, yeah, this is great. Yeah, I have people. I know people because I joke that, my dream would be to, have a Gulfstream like, 4, 5, 6, 650, 700. Heck, I'd go as low as a G1 or G2. All right. We've all got our standards, right? We've all got our limits. We all got a price. Anyway, so I get this nice box the other day. I'm like, that's weird. I wasn't expecting anything at all, right? What did I receive? And, just so we don't get anybody in trouble, right? We'll just refer to her as Angela. Don't tell anybody. But look at all this cool stuff, right? Gulfstream, aerospace, just big shout out. And this one is personally addressed, a cutout heart to the lovely Miss Kristen. Look at that. Seriously, have we not got the best Patreon family members here? Oh my gosh. To Mr. Scott, the next Gulfstream owner. And Frank, can you go ahead and put up my wish list? There it is. Okay? It's nothing too fancy, but I think, if everybody pitches in $1 or $2, we ought to be able to get it. And then CrimeTalk, we would hit every state. We would do shows live. So yeah, look at that. How does that look, right? Look, Gulfstream 600. Seriously, how cool is that? Then we got hats there for the lovely Miss Kristen, a lovely Gulfstream bottle. Gulfstream shirts. God, this is like a Gulfstream commercial. Heck, they should let me borrow a plane, and I'll just promote the heck out of Gulfstream. Another shirt. How sweet is that? Look at that. I mean, thank you. Some koozies. Oh, seriously, I need one of these. You know why? Because the airplane keys to lock the plane. Got to have a little lanyard. Comes in handy. Perfect. So just want to thank Angela. Appreciate that. Unnecessary, but thank you. That was the coolest thing ever and a total surprise. So that was just cool. And I believe the package for you, Angela, went out today because the least I could do is reciprocate with some cool gear. Not as cool as Gulfstream gear, I'm just saying, but we sent you some CrimeTalk gear as well. So I hope you enjoy that as well. So I just want to give her a big shout out there. All right, the other case going on right now. I mean, Lori Vallow stuff is just you just don't know it. I mean, every day, it's just like, I cannot believe what Mark Means files. But hey, Mark Means is God's gift to YouTube and true crime channels, no doubt. Carrie, sell raffle tickets and raffle a free flight. That'd be great, but I think there's all kinds of requirements for that. So I guess I'll just have to work a little bit harder, a little bit smarter. I guess I need to sell a few more CrimeTalk mugs. I guess that's what it boils down to. Love it. Okay, Kay. Love to be here since last night. I anticipate tonight's show. Andy Scott would break it down. Can't wait to see the judge's response. Yeah, they're still having a hearing, but they vacated it regarding the whole change of venue. So it's going to be interesting. But Judge Boyce, what he seems to do is he likes to have a hearing to kind of take things under advisement, and then he sets a hearing to set another hearing. I think he just likes the suspense. But hey, at least we'll have lots to talk about over the years, that's for sure. Cool, but can you wear that flying a different plane? Well, Piper Aircraft Company, this would be a good time for you to step up. Just saying. Yeah, we got a little Piper gear, but not as cool as Gulfstream gear, just saying. But anyone there in Vero Beach, Florida, home of Piper Aircraft, maybe we get like a bidding war where literally somebody will be like, hey, let's give that CrimeTalk guy, his birthday wish. That's right, a jet. So, just saying. Let's see here. Mark Means will turn up in court with a gaff tape in his mouth. Yeah. We'll have to definitely wait and see. So the other case that's going on, right? G.Maxwell. And obviously a little bit of a Colorado connection. Two of the attorneys are from Colorado, okay? Jeff Pagliuca and Laura Meninger. They're from firm here in town. Name may not mean much of anything, but that law firm has had some pretty high-powered clients over the years. That's right. Remember they represented those parents of that little girl in Boulder. What was her name? Oh, yeah, that's right. Jean-Benet Ramsey. That's right. Represented them. Pamela Mackey, who recently retired from that firm, also represented now deceased basketball star Kobe Bryant in his little sexual matter. And so now we have a little Colorado connection out there. Two of the attorneys for G.Maxwell are defense counsel. And I was reading some reports today. It looks like Laura Meninger got her chance, was cross-examining the pilot. They brought in the pilot of that guy named Jeff. And why do we say that guy named Jeff? Because there for a while, if you said the E word, that's right, YouTube shut you down, demonetized you, sent you on your way. So we had to get around them and still be able to talk about it. So when we say that guy named Jeff, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you know who we're talking about, okay? Well, apparently the pilot gets up and, he says, hey, we've had lots of guests. That guy named Jeff was the big number one, and G.Maxwell was the number two. He flew with them back in the mid-'90s or early 90s to, I think, 2001, 2002-ish. Recall seeing Donald Trump on the plane. Recall seeing Bill Clinton on the plane. But then on cross-examination, which I love cross-examination, said, yeah, I never saw any sex going on the plane. At least not while he was there flying the plane. Could it have happened? Sure. Let's be realistic. But remember, witnesses can only testify as to what they actually observed. So the pilot in that particular situation, told the truth, basically. I was the pilot, flew Mr. Jeff, big guy number one, all over the place. And, what can you say? He didn't see anything inappropriate, but she was clearly, Ghislaine Maxwell was clearly the number two, was basically his personal assistant, would help with, clearing up his travel expenses and things of that nature. The cross-examination continues tomorrow, from what I understand. And, certainly you'd like to start off any case as a prosecutor with a big witness to really get things going. The pilot was there to, establish, wow, this guy had private airplanes. Okay. I mean, he was worth several hundreds of millions of dollars, if not close to $1 billion. Just saying, I wouldn't expect the guy to travel commercial airlines. I wouldn't. I have a friend who been very successful in life, flies multiple airplanes in his fleet of airplanes, and he hadn't flown commercial in probably 30 years. And if you've ever flown on a private airplane, okay, and if you ever seen interviews where people, like, they've had a lot of money and they've kind of went broke, the one thing they say they miss the most, it's not necessarily the money in and of itself. What is it? It's the private airplane. I'm telling you. Particularly if you have a jet. Let's say you have a Gulfstream, for example. Like that guy named Jeff did. That's right. Just like that one there on the screen. Sure, you have a couple of pilots, right? But you could go anywhere, anytime you wanted. Any time of the day, 24/7. You don't need any advanced knowledge, notice. You just literally call up the pilot and say, hey, I would like to leave in the next 10 minutes. The pilot say, okay, I'll meet you at the airplane. They gas it up. They do their pre-flight. That is it, right? And you take off. People are like, no, that can't be right. You can't do that. And I say, oh, yes, you can. You know why? Because I can do it myself. Even in my even on my little plane, guess what? I go to my little app right here on my phone, and it's called ForeFlight. And boom, you simply put in there, and you go to add a flight, right? Want to add one? You type in the airport you want to go to, where you're leaving from, what time you want to leave, how long it's going to take, and you file it on your phone, and you literally, from the time that you file it, you get an acknowledgement within 20, 30 seconds, and within minutes, you could get your flight plan to take off. And why do I say that? Well, I think it was interesting in the guy named Jeff case, a lot of people wanted to have access to his tail number. Well, the Wall Street Journal got it, and also Business Insider. And it's a searchable database of all of the flights during this particular time period. So you'll be able to track, and I haven't had time, but if you track Epstein's tail number, you can. Now, apparently the plane was decommissioned for a while, so that tail number was given to somebody else, to a different aircraft, so you have to make sure the dates are correct. But you'll be able to see where he took off, where he was, how long he stayed. It's all completely trackable. And particularly back in the early 2000s, I mean, that wasn't, you couldn't keep it quiet. It's like I could type in a tail number, literally go down to the airport, see a private plane, type in a tail number. I could tell you the last 10 flights that they came from, who the owner is, all the registration information. It wasn't until I'd say maybe 10 years ago, people can block that information so that for privacy reasons, that if they thought there was something special about them, that they could have that so it couldn't be tracked. But I mean, you just go to like FlightAware and track any plane you want to track. So we'll see. So the G.Maxwell trial, I think, is going to be rather interesting. The whole theory from the defense. Where'd my little board go? Oh yeah. The defense theme, and I love this. It's called the Rule of Three. They teach you all this stuff in trial school. They don't teach you in law school, but the Rule of Three. Most people can remember three things. And the defense theme is memory, manipulation, and money, right? What was their opening argument about? These people have fake memories. They have bad memories. And I think it's going to come out that they left out a lot of details that, are probably not good for them when they're making their civil case. But that's right. Nobody's cross-examining them. Manipulation. A lot of these young ladies have been obviously, encouraged by people to sue this guy named Jeff. And let's face it, this Jeff guy's got some real bad accusations. He pled guilty, to that solicitation charge down in Miami, which was a gift. Okay. Can't believe the United States Attorney's Office did that. And I can't remember the guy's name, but he was in the Trump administration. He was the acting U.S. attorney down there in the Southern District of Miami or Florida there for a while. And he approved this deal where they dismissed the federal charges of basically this international trafficking to a minor misdemeanor solicitation with a little bit of jail time. And he had to register as a sex offender. But he got off pretty darn easy because, his time in custody with his work release was pretty cushy because he paid to have further accommodations, and let's just say not everybody else would be able to have. And so, which brings up whole other issues about the whole Bill Cosby thing and who's bound by plea agreements and things like that. But it worked out really well for that guy named Jeff in that particular situation. So you've got memory, manipulation, and money, and obviously all of these young ladies have received lots and lots of money. Lots of money over the years. Only 4 are going to testify. 4. The jury could simply believe everything they say, believe part of it, or believe none of it. So it's going to be interesting. And I think I saw one of the reports. I think one of the first complaining witnesses started testifying. The first thing was, well, you didn't say this, 16 years ago. You didn't say this 16 years ago. So, as a general rule, people's memories don't get better as time goes on, unless, of course, the whole false memory thing takes place and it's financially beneficial to you to do that. Like I said, there's allegations. People have settled these cases over the years for financial money. And, I don't think they really wanted the civil case to go forward, but, the defense is going to argue that, okay, you're in this room. You're saying that G.Maxwell recruited you. You're coming from a poor section, broken family. Oh, gee, that's uncommon, right? Some sexual predator look for people that are vulnerable. Oh, my gosh. I can't believe that's what they do, right? If you look at all the classic cases of kind of sexual predators, they look for people that are weak, people that they can bring in, that they can control. And they do that. And what do? They offer this life of luxury. You can have this life of luxury. We're going to fly on these beautiful airplanes, go to beautiful locations. Now, of course, you can do whatever you want because we're going to make you a model someday. You're going to be rich. You're going to be famous. Just come along for the party. Okay. And of course they get there and then someone like, well, what do you mean? You got some 60-year-old guy, Epstein. He clearly, I think one can reasonably say that he has a thing for much younger girls. That's a problem. And, I don't know. I don't know. The jury's going to have a tough decision to make in this case. If the jury's convinced beyond a reasonable doubt, is their oath and obligation to find Miss Maxwell guilty of everything they believe that the prosecution has presented. And if they fail to do so, guess what? They should, be able to say they've failed to prove the case and find him not guilty. Let's see here. You can start with a drone. I have it. All right. So anyway, those are the big cases, and man, I can't believe how fast. There's literally so much, and that Mark means. I could literally talk about that case for hours and hours on end. We kind of keep this show to about an hour, but there's a couple of programs out there I was watching over the holiday where some of these guys go on these marathon live programs, and just talk, and hey, I can do that, but I'm not sure anybody wants to listen to me talk for 8 hours or something along those lines. We could do it. We'll never, you'll never have nothing to talk about when it comes to things in the law, in the news, things related to the law. It's sure. Now, Rick wants to say, concerning Maxwell, wouldn't we sure like to see the names in that black book? I sure would. But I guess why I'm not particularly offended, so to speak, okay? And, sometimes I get in trouble when I say things like this, like, Scott, how could you say that? You're being insensitive. These victims, they've been accused of a crime, or they've been accused of, being abused, blah, blah, blah. You're being insensitive. Okay, well, I'm sorry in advance if I'm being insensitive. But if somebody thinks that when there are rich and powerful people worth, hundreds of millions of dollars, they can pretty much do what they want. Okay? They run in circles where people think that they won't be able to get in trouble, right? If you ever notice a lot of guys, particularly the sexual predators, what do? They try to associate themselves with people to make them always look like the good guy. Oh, he's the philanthropist. He donates to everybody. I think Epstein was actually donating to like the Police Protective Association down there in Miami Beach. He was trying to buy that influence and peddle stuff, and nobody really knew what he did. And there are always these rumors, but nobody did anything. Well, because he's a good guy, and he's got all that money. Right? And prosecution, the government doesn't like to go after people. I know you're going to find this hard to believe too, but we can't tell it the way it is. They don't like to go after people that are going to put up a fight, i.e. rich and wealthy people. Just saying. All right? Because it takes a lot of money to match up against the government. They have kind of unlimited resources, right? They've always been able to find enough resources to get the job done. Police I hate to say it, but they like to pick on the poor people because they're the ones that aren't going to put up a fight, usually don't have the means to put up the fight, and then basically hope they give up, plead guilty, and say, look, we knew they were guilty, they pled guilty. In reality, they just wanted to get it over with and go home and get on with their life, right? And so that's the way it is. I just saw this comment here. It says, Scott, I've been listening to you every day. I have not found you to be offensive one time. Well, that's very nice because some people get very offensive. You should see some of the emails I get. And usually it's people letting me know that I am offended. I have watched you from the beginning. I have watched you for 3 years. Every night religiously, I cook dinner to you, Scott. But today, you disagreed with me about a case and you accuse somebody, a witness of being, a money-grubbing person, whatever. So I am never watching you again. Good riddance. Okay, thanks for watching. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not looking for a bunch of followers to agree with everything I say, except what I say is make your own decision, listen to the facts and read the law, right? That's really what it's all about. We're not looking for, a bunch of mind-numb robots that say, oh my God, Scott said this, he must be right. He's the only one that can possibly be right. No, I've got it wrong, but I think I get it right most of the time. And it's not because I'm some genius, right? Although I'm not. But when you've done this for a quarter century plus, you kind of see a pattern of how things are going to go, right? Most clients sometimes forget, Lion Swimmer, thank you for your super chat. Most clients think that like their case is the first time this has ever happened. When the reality of it is, your case is usually not unique. It has happened 100 times over and over again, thousands, million times over again. And when somebody that sees the same every day can probably tell you with pretty good certainty as to what is going to happen, right? And certainly don't plead guilty to something you didn't do, right? And don't change your mind just because you think somebody told you should change your mind. Listen to the facts. Come to making your own decision. That's really what it is all about. Bottom line. So, Jennifer, people hate the truth. I can't disagree with that. And Frank, the hardest working man in show business, piped in too and said, yes, that's the truth. The truth hurts. People don't like the truth. Why? Usually because, they believe something or they believed in someone, and then they turned out that they trusted them and they shouldn't have. So they don't want to do that. If they have a point, make it, but you don't have to be offended. That is offensive. That's right. People need to stop being so offended, all right? And not to go down any diatribe because we've done that before. I don't want to do that. But, you don't have a right to not be offended, ladies and gentlemen. And one of the things I love about being a criminal defense attorney, and I've said this and I'll say it again, it's the best thing ever, right? I get to ask the elephant in the room questions. I get to be the one to ask about the elephant in the room. I was at a sentencing today in federal court. And the judge says, that's great. But he goes, can you guess what the problem is here, Mr. Reich? And I looked at the U.S. attorney. And I'm like, the sheer amount of the drugs, Your Honor? Yes. That's what he said. And he said, I'd say it's the elephant in the room. I'm like, I get it. I got great mitigation. My client is a very nice person. A lot of mitigation. But there are just so many drugs. You just got to talk about it, right? And if you have a bad fact, you have to embrace it. Barrett wants to talk real quickly. Hey, Scott, talk about the Arbery case, how the defense's own words convicted them. Well, Barrett, I've said this from the beginning. I think it's Barrett Laurie or Laurie Barrett. The defense screwed themselves. I do not know why old Roddy Bryant allowed his attorney to turn over that videotape of the whole Arbery incident. Okay? Remember, nothing happened. The case is going to go away. Probably can't prove anything. And then this Roddy Bryant, through his attorney, turns this video over to a radio show, and they put it up on their website. And me, first time I saw that video, I was like, oh, this is not good. So I don't know if he went to a criminal defense attorney and he thought, wow, this is great. We just got to get the truth out there. Or maybe he went to like a civil attorney. Well, we just got to get the truth out there. Because that's what got them charged and that's what got them convicted. And then when the Travis McMichael had to testify to self-defense and say, oh, yeah, I got out of the van, I got out of the car. Yeah, I didn't really know what it was stolen, but, we've had some of our suspicion in the world and in our neighborhood because things have gone missing. And I've had things go stolen in my neighborhood, but I don't go around shooting people or confronting them with firearms because I don't know that they did anything wrong. Anyway, so Travis McMichael's own words, and it's always the words. I mean, I think I've mentioned to you this over the years, and I tell it to my young associates that have come to work for me over the years, and I say, ladies and gentlemen, or my young associates, I say, guess what? You have to zealously represent your client in every way you can. But remember, because this took me a long time, because I used to have sleepless nights and worried, like, oh my gosh, if this guy loses, I was a young defense attorney in the military. Oh my gosh, if I lose, this guy's going to lose his career, and then he's going to lose his career, and he's going to go to jail, and he won't be able to get a job, and his wife's going to leave, and it's all my fault. And I tell my young attorneys, you can't think about that, okay? Because first of all, you were not the one that usually gave the advice to the defendant to do whatever brought us all together here, right? You didn't consult him on that, because you probably would have said, don't do that if you were there, and you'd be a witness, so you couldn't represent him. So you can't worry about it. I tell them, you're not the ones that created the facts. You have clients that you like. You want to get a good result, but let the chips have to fall where they may, because you have to deal with what you have to deal with. And I also tell them, guess what? It's usually the defendant's own words that get them. So yeah, I mean, it's their own words that get them when they get arrested, and they're like, yeah, I did it. Yeah, it was my drugs. Yeah, I'm drinking. Yeah, my wife is dead in the back seat. I maybe strangled her or something like. Yeah, it's always those own words. Then they expect you to make that all go away. You can't. So sometimes, out there in the world, sometimes you have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, the truth or a pretty darn close version of it will come out in the process, whether at the beginning because somebody confesses to it, or through the trial process, through the adversarial process, right? Prosecution asks their questions, the defense gets up and asks theirs. I've said this before. If the prosecution was truly on a quest for the truth, the defense should never have to get up and ask a single question. But they don't do that. They're an advocate. They're only going to bring out facts that are good for them. Then the defense is going to bring out facts that are good for them. So the truth will come out. Just like here, the pilot, oh yeah, all these people, okay, did you ever see anything inappropriate? Well, no. And you think, well, why did the prosecution ask you that question, right? Because it doesn't help their case. So that's what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen. Be skeptical of everybody. Okay? Trust but verify. Lion Swimmer question, can Lori Vallow's psych meds and diagnosis be disclosed, used in court? Maybe. More than likely, possibly yes. Why? Because there'll probably be an NGRI plea when she is restored to competency, if and when she is restored to competency. So hopefully that makes sense, because when you go NGRI, all that becomes available. And if they say, yeah, this lady is crazy. In fact, she's so crazy. I mean, what has it been, 6 months since she went down there? 4 months, right? Okay, usually if somebody's restored to competency, they can usually do it in a couple months. Just saying. They put them on some good drugs. Bam. They're like, wow, this is a whole new world. I feel great. Wow, what's going on? Should have taken my meds, shouldn't I? Right? So what I'm saying is, the longer Lori Vallow stays at State Mental Hospital and is not restored, the less likely the chances are going to be that it won't be NGRI. And she probably was NGRI, but guess what? Then she goes and spends the rest of her days in a mental institution. It's not like she's going to get a free pass. But you know who should be the guy who is just kicking himself right now? Chad Daybell. Think about Chad Daybell as he sits in his little cell at night, maybe reviewing papers, whatever, waiting for the end of the world. What is it? Something's going to open up and fall, and just going to portals. Why is it always portals? Why is it always everyone's going to go to the next dimension in the portals? Like, I don't know what it is. I've had a couple of those doomsday things, and it's always portals are going to open up. I don't understand where that comes from. I just don't get it. Anyway, and I speak that from experience. I had a case where it was a bunch of end of earthers, worlds come to an end. Unfortunately, there were some really bad deceased young children on the property. We'll see. Still up on appeal. But the reality of it is, I don't know. I don't get why they. It's always the portals that are going to open up. Okay, it's the portals. But think about old Chad, right? You got Chad Daybell, who has been accused of killing his wife to be with Lori Vallow, who maybe had something to do with the killing of her ex-husband, maybe had something to do with the death of her brother. I mean, it's just a coincidence. He just happened to die, right? I mean, coincidence happen, right? And then, obviously, JJ and Tylee disappear. So then you got this guy who's thinking, I am leaving my wife of, 25, 30 years to go be with Lori Vallow because this blonde just rocked his world. I mean, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, she rocked his world. But has he got to think to himself, I am the dumbest guy on the face of the earth. I got conned by a crazy woman. I mean, think about it. Now, yeah, she's good at being crazy, right? All these signs, people are like, I am a goddess and I am going to come and I have this power and the dark spirits are blah, 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 blah. And like some people were like, hey, that's a little weird, but man, you're a convincing weird. Like, that's really good, convincing weird. We should put you on like a podcast and talk about how convincing weird you are, right? And people would come and they would read their books, right? And then to come to find out, she's crazy the whole time, right? I mean, think about how stupid he has got to feel, right? He got conned, allegedly killed his wife to be with this crazy woman. I mean, if you're going to, I guess kill your wife, not that I'm saying kill your wife, so let's just be clear, I'm not saying kill your wife. But let's say you're Chad Daybell and he's thinking, well, I got this really stable wife, she's raised my children really good, and this woman's crazy, and she thinks she's some like weird spiritual guy, but she thinks I'm like the king of end of earth stuff. I'm going with her. Yeah, let's do her. I mean, that's just crazy, right? Chad Daybell has got to be thinking he is the dumbest guy on earth, okay? Now, I've said this before. I'll say it again. That's a great defense for Chad Daybell, right? Hey, I didn't do this. Yeah, she talked weird, but he's going to be like, she was probably great in bed, so I just kind of let it go. I mean, he's having his midlife crisis, whatever, probably buying himself a convertible. Who knows, right? And Lori Vallow comes along like, you're the greatest thing ever. You know what? You believe in the end of the world? Guess what? I believe in the end of the world. And guess what? He probably thought he could manipulate her. Like Stephanie says here, Chad instigated a lot of what happened, though. If you read his story, he wrote about the meeting. It's clear he planted the seeds ahead. I know, you got two crazies, right? What is more dangerous than two crazy people that are pretty smart, right? I mean, you can deal with crazy dumb all day long, but when you got crazy smart, I mean, you got problems on your hands, right, ladies and gentlemen? As we can see by the string of dead bodies every time, Lori Vallow shows up, boom, somebody's dead, right? Cox, her brother, dead. Just happened to have an aneurysm, right, or embolism, I think. I don't know, but he died unexpectedly of something. What a coincidence. Alex Cox died, dead husband, wanted him out of the picture. Alex Cox, the brother, shoots him, self-defense, say he came at him with a bat. Whole story didn't line up. The police didn't really do anything, he's just dead. We know where to find him. Besides, she's crazy, right? Everyone knew she was crazy. He kept saying, the dead husband, Vallow, was like, Charles Vallow, she's crazy. Lock her up. Put her in the... She even convinced, apparently, the people in the psych ward that she wasn't crazy. Oh, he's just saying that. You know how manipulative these ex-husbands can be in child custody situations. I don't believe that I'm the goddess. Besides, if I told you I was the goddess of end of world, you would think that I'm crazy, and everybody knows that I'm not crazy, right? And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I have dealt with crazy. And when the client says, hey, Scott, yeah, I looked fine. Everything's fine, but the voices came to talk to me last night, and I think I need to go off to Pueblo to be evaluated at the state hospital. Oh, do you now? Really? Talk to me, okay? And I tell them you're BSing. You're just going to be manipulating. Goes back to the whole, you think I'm a freaking idiot? You think the court's a freaking idiot? You think we haven't seen this a bazillion times? You're not crazy. Sit down. Shut up. I have no good faith basis to do that. And then when you got the guy or woman who's really crazy, they don't want to go to Pueblo. They've been to Pueblo. They've been to the psych places. They don't like it. So they fake. They know how to kind of act normal to be crazy, so people don't think they're crazy, but the crazy just sneaks through, okay? It just sneaks through. And like I said, you get crazy on crazy, it's a, I can't say the word, but you know what it is. It's a blank show. It's a blank show because we're a family program, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Hey, Scott, talk about the Arbery. Okay, we did that. Let's see here. There's lots of comments here. But now all of a sudden she's crazy. You know, Colleen, I'm going to tell, I think she was crazy a long time ago. Okay? And like I said, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. But I've seen crazy enough. Okay? And I'm not talking the crazy like, you know, the guy, homeless guy on the street corner that hasn't taken his schizophrenia meds, okay? I'm talking about the truly delusional people, and they're delusional. And I'm probably not using that word correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not. But there are people out there that truly believe certain things with a conviction, okay? That they truly believe something has happened and they can't do it. And I mean, it's just, this is the way it is. It's there and you don't see it. Well, you're crazy. They start accusing you of being crazy. I don't think she's that manipulative in this. I think she's just crazy. I really, really do. But we'll see. We'll have to see. And I am not a doctor. I am not a psychiatrist, but I have read enough evaluations over the years from the state mental health hospital to kind of get just a little bit of flavor of crazy, okay? And normally, it doesn't take that long to restore somebody to competency unless they're truly maybe not restorable, okay? Usually, like I said, it's some sort of situation, but they can't. SJP, she is 100% manipulative, Scott. I agree, but I'm telling you, she can also be crazy and manipulative. Sometime Wong, psychiatrists and psychologists need to be removed from our justice system. Well, you know, that's an interesting system. I don't know, but the problem is that so many people in the criminal justice system have mental health issues. And usually it's undiagnosed mental health issues. And they self-medicate because they don't want to go to the doctor or there's a stigma about talking about it. Usually there's a much deeper issue, particularly when you get the drugs and alcohol. It's like, all right, what are you trying to escape? What are you trying to escape? What trauma in your life is it? What is it? And so I you know, psychologists, psychiatrists, I mean, the good ones will tell you. I've consulted them, say, hey, is this guy nuts? Tell me. I'm like, no, Just because you have deep-founded beliefs that other people think are crazy doesn't necessarily make you crazy, but it can. Scott, you are so right on crazy. Sorry, but you are. I think so. Lion swimmer, a Chandler cop helped Lori mop the floor of the crime scene after Charles' murder. Unprofessional. I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, I would tend to agree that probably not something that needs to be done. I mean, maybe he's just thinking, I don't want the kids to come back and see this guy's blood all over. Saltina, tell the definition of incompetence. Well, you don't appreciate and understand the what's going on. Additionally, you're not unable to assist in your defense. Like, so say, for example, client, delusional. You sit and say, all right, hello, sir, we're going to have a conversation today. I'd like to talk to you about the charges in your case. Okay, well, let me tell you a couple of things. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Literally like 2 hours goes by. You can't get a word in edgewise. No matter what you say, you're wrong. You're a complete idiot. You're reading the law incorrectly. I try to correct him. He's not. They won't listen. They don't believe. And it's not that he's just, stubborn. You have to really look at it. It's like, this guy, I cannot even get a conversation with this guy to have him participate and understand. I don't think he gets it. Like, he can tell you what the role of the judges, the defense attorney, prosecutors, charges, penalties, things like that. That's all stuff, to understand and appreciate. Because some people, they come in and they're just, particularly, clients that are indigent, that have been arrested on the streets, right? They're so out of it. Sometimes it's drugs. They come down with drugs. Sometimes there's psychiatric mental health issues. And those obviously need to be treated, right? And normally, like I said, that's pretty quick. We're talking 30, 60 days at the most. That's why I think Lori Vallow, she's been down there a long time, ladies and gentlemen. The state hospital has been restoring people back to competency rather quickly, okay? And one of the things is, if you can't assist with your defense, so if you go, let's say Lori Vallow goes in, and they're talking to Mark Means and now the new attorney, and it's like, all right, let's talk about the defense, Well, they had dark spirits, and so they had to die. They had, and you can't get past the whole dark spirits thing. At some point, like, I can't even sit and communicate with my client because we can't get past the whole dark spirits thing. And I'm not saying they did that. I wasn't privy to those conversations. But the reality of it is, the defendant has to be able to assist in their defense. Okay, some people just don't care, right? I've had clients over the years like, hey man, I'll be here. You just tell me what I need to do. You do you. You do what you need to do. Okay? And I'm thinking of one particular client. I love that client. He's the best client ever. That's cool. That's cool, man. Whatever we need to do. We need a continuance. We got it. Right? Not to brag, but let's just say that guy was charged with some pretty serious offenses. And maybe somebody here in the room was the guy that walked him not once, but twice. That's right. Twice. Very serious. Most serious crime you can usually be charged with. Not once, but twice. Best client ever. He would say, man, Scott, it's cool. You do what you got to do. I'll just sit here. Okay. It's the best clients. I swear to God, just let me do what I need to do. Sit down, shut up, and we'll make it happen. I like this. Jen B. Hit the like button. Share our channel. Join. You know what? You want to give me a Christmas present? That's right. Yeah, it'd be nice to get a Gulfstream, but I'm a realist. I know that's not going to happen unless some wealthy follower, subscriber would like to buy Scott a jet. Sure, every kid's got a dream, right? But I am also a realist, so I'm not going to hold my breath on that just yet. But you know what you could really do? I would just like to get to 200,000 by the end of the year. I really would. It's just frustrating. I don't know what I know what it is. Google, in their censorship ways, shut us down basically in people's feeds. Thanks, Gina, for the super chat and the nice words saying that you love our analysis in this show. Appreciate that. So anyway, if you want to give me a nice present, tell all your friends to subscribe. I'd like to get to 200,000 by the end of the year. That was the goal. We're still a little short. And the reason is why? Because it is Google. It is Google. And let me tell you something. So I got to look this up. I found the book that I was looking for. I was cleaning out a couple of things out at the hangar this weekend, and I came across the book. I was like, I know I have this book. Where is it? And I found it. It's called Googled. And it's the story of the guys in Googles. And I probably read this book, almost, 15, 18 years ago, something along those lines. And it's funny because I got to find the spot in the book, and I want to read it to y'all because basically the people at Google were like, hey, it's all about free information. Let it out there. No manipulation whatsoever. We're not going to do it. Just whatever the best results were for the queue that sent the question that sent in, that's going to be good enough, right? And that's how Google was formed, and because one of the two founders, I think their parents came from like the Ukraine or Russia or something like that. So they lived in, and yet now Google manipulates what stories get publicized, what don't. Oh, you talked about a particular case in Wisconsin. Oh, guess what? Your videos aren't going to get to go up on the searches. Yeah. Isn't it funny? It's kind of like my old law professor used to say. I think it's profound. He would say, the law becomes its own opposite, but yet it still maintains itself as a rational body of discourse. Right? If you look back now, obviously, the 13th Amendment, we fought the war on slavery, but at one time, the Supreme Court said, slaves had no, they were just property, and they couldn't sue in court, right? Arbery versus Madison, all that kind of good stuff, right? And then the law changed and said, yeah, that's not the right way. They didn't just say, come and say, one day we're going to change the law and that's it. They had to explain why they did it. And it's really, if you think about it, there's so many things, so many companies that start off one way, and yet they really become what they despise. They become their own opposite. And you have to wonder, how did they get there? So Google, who was all about, remember, making the world available to everybody. They were scanning books, and you're going to type in your search. The only thing that mattered was coming up with the best search results wherever it was on the internet. But now it's all manipulated for money. And they got more money than they know what to do with. But yet they say, hey, that guy in that CrimeTalk show, he talks about that kid. And, a year ago he said, yeah, I think that kid's got problems. And I was like, well, more information came out. That kid's got a defense. Oh, my gosh, that kid's defense worked. Well, they shut us down. If you look at the statistics, Google shut us down big time. And it was because they blocked certain topics, which you would think a couple of guys whose parents came from, communist bloc countries and, immigrated to the United States because, they wanted freedom and they wanted to be able to think, not be told what to think. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm being told that my dog must have slobbered on my coat this morning. All right. Well, wow. Can you believe it is already 7:30? We went an hour and a half tonight. Wow. Hey, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Really do. Thanks for joining us. Please join us for our Patreon show after this. Same context, but you can call in so we can have a real conversation, not just chats. And it's a much smaller, intimate group, I must say. And we'll have, things about, we can also talk about, the Magic 8 Ball. Did the Magic 8 Ball come out correct? I think they did on the whole Arbery thing last week. So yeah, we'll do the Magic 8 Ball again as well. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, remember, think. Don't just be told what to think. Think. Do it yourself. Okay? It's called being a responsible adult. And if somebody tells you to think a particular way and they don't tell you how they got there, they just tell you to think about it, well, trust but verify. All right? All right, thanks for watching. We'll see our Patreon members here shortly. Everyone else we'll see next time. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you. Have a good night.